Hey guys, Mr. Possible here. This is going to be a hot take. I was just thinking about on my walk some of the things that propelled me to realize I could do the possible. Although I've always had that thought in my head since I was very young that things were possible, there was certain events in my life that actually proved that to me. And the one I'm going to talk about today is actually really interesting. It's where cookies showed me what was possible. So when I was in high school, I might have been a freshman or a sophomore, I can't remember. I saw these people going around, and I had quite the sweet tooth. So I saw these people going around eating cookies and distributing cookies. And I said, well, I want some cookies. So I went up to the person and said, hey, how do I get some of these cookies? And they're like, well, we're selling them for Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA. And I said, well, how much are they? And it was some price that I didn't have. I didn't have a lot of money. I was a foster kid who was not given an allowance. So certainly not for cookies. So get that light out of my face. So after that happened, I said, well, how else can I get these cookies? Like, is there a way I can get them, And they're like, oh yeah, well, you could join FBLA and like the first box is free. I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like a good thing. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to the FBLA meeting and they said, well, what are you going to compete in? And I'm like, compete? I have no idea. And they're like, well, what subjects do you like? And one of the subjects was computer concepts. So I checked that box and was like, yeehaw, let's go. I had a computer. In fact, that's what I was working for in my foster home. My foster parents gave me the deal if I had a summer job that I could save up for a Tandy 1000 SL. It's a little geeky there, but it's a very old computer that I think went 7 megahertz or something, smoking fast. And so I was saving for that. So I had, started out on, for those computer geeks out there, on Deskmate and Radio Shack computers, and had a little knowledge about Linux, those sorts of things at that time. So I thought, this is fantastic. I'll just choose computer concepts. So I choose it. I get my box of cookies. I get a whole bunch of other boxes of cookies. And I guess a month, maybe 2 months go by, and they're like, hey, so, the regionals are coming up. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, well, you have to go and, compete in your category, which is computer concepts. And I'm like, okay, so no preparation at all. I go to regionals and I kind of just basically drew dots on the, there were some questions I knew, but basically drew figures on regionals. And I think I ended up placing in regionals, maybe third place, which is amazing. And then I really kind of got interested in the whole thing because what I understood was that I had a shot at state. So state was, if I won state, then there was an all expense paid vacation to Washington, D.C. And my foster mother at the time really wanted to go to Washington, D.C. And I was in love with, everything D.C. at the time, a true patriot. I just loved it. My family grew up America. 4th of Julys were big, living in Hawaii. So, I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. Absolutely. And it was just everything I thought about. So I said, okay, well, that's it. I'm going to win state. And I told everyone around me that I was going to win state. I studied 16 hours a day. I did everything I had to do. And I would constantly tell my foster parents or my dad when I talked to him, that I was going to win the state championship. And my foster mother, Marty, I told her, you better get packed because we're going to Washington, D.C. And I just breathed computer concepts, everything I could, every history, everything I could, just on a daily basis, pounded it. And so I think a lot of people around me were doubtful. I had this air, this confidence. I was absolutely positive. And this is something I do when doing the possible. We'll go into that a little bit. But so it came time for state. And this was I think it was during the summer. So it was 3 or 4 months later, or maybe right before the summer. And I went in there and immediately I was intimidated. There was people way more, sophisticated than me. There was, foreigners that were just well versed in development, and I mean, it was mind-boggling for me how many people knew like these terms I didn't know, and like, so immediately I felt dejected. I felt like, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? But I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this anyway. Then I found out another thing I didn't know, which is in regionals, it doesn't matter when you finish. They just take the scores, they line them up, and if there's a tie, there's, both those people place. But in state, time matters. So if you get the same score as somebody else and your time is after them, you're out. So there was 10 finalists in state, and I really just learned this. So they I think it was in Eastern Kentucky University in Richmond. They put us up in dorms there, and for a couple of days, and I found this out on the first day. So this was really bad. I'm pretty sure like right around this time I had been testing for Mensa and had failed because I could not meet the time limit. So I knew that was, not good. I was already feeling about these people who were talking all this high stuff, and, kind of like how I've described in the past, those tournaments where the super big stacks or the people with a lot of chips are talking about how awesome they are. But it was very intimidating. So when the time of but I continued, by the way, those 3 days, pounding the books, studying, trying to figure out everything I could, everything I heard from other people, I would then investigate and look into because I didn't know what it was. So I went into the test, and the day of the test comes, we're all sitting there and we have to fill out our papers, and people are just leaving. Like the test is, and I think there was like, I don't think there was a time limit, but again, time mattered. So I finally finished my test. I checked my answers thoroughly, and felt pretty good about the test. And I get up and there's not one person in the room except the annoyed looking instructor, like you're the last guy. So I put my paper up there and I go out, and remember I had been talking all this time about, I'm going to do this. I'm confident, So when I went out, I was completely dejected. The last one in the room. In order to win, I would have to have the best score. I couldn't even tie. So I went out, and my foster mother, so I think the test was on this day, and then the next day, I think we did some kind of celebration, like they gave us, free reign of the campus and food, and anyway, we did that, and then the next day, I think, was the award celebration, and it was like 3 hours or something, because remember, my category was just computer concepts, but there was many categories. And I think I said to my foster mother, I don't even want to go. Like, I'll just wait till the middle, and as soon as they announce my category, I'll leave. I mean, at this point, and this is something I've done through my life a lot, at this point, it was like all of that confidence, now that it was done, was gone. I just, I started to doubt, tremendously how well I was going to do. And my foster mother was, I think, fairly surprised. She's like, oh, well, it's okay. You tried your best. But she was kind of surprised, with all the studying I did. So I remember, we had these like suits, and, we had to dress up for this. And like I said, it was a big event. So Computer Concepts didn't come till the middle of the event. And so they call the 10 finalists, because there's 10 finalists. And there's no particular order, but they call the 10 finalists. So they've gone through the 9, and I'm actually getting up to leave I'm just like, yeah, let's get out of here. And they called my name. And I was like, this must be a mistake, right? Because I was the last person to finish. And these people knew so much more than me. The age differences, you just had to be a sophomore or whatever I was at the time. The age didn't matter, and then I'm standing there on stage, and I used to have a video of it, and it's an awesome video. I'm standing there on stage, and I'm like, well, okay, let's get this done. 10th place, here I come. And they're like, number 10, so-and-so. And you can see the recognition in my face that that's not me. How can that not be me? Maybe they called my name on mistake. And this is literally going through my head while I'm standing on this stage. And I might straighten a little bit more. And I do this often in poker tournaments, by the way, when the spots keep slipping away and it's like, now it's 5th or 4th or 3rd. So now I was absolutely positive that 9th place was mine. This was a very, very good showing for me, but it wasn't going to get me to Washington, D.C., and that was unfortunate. And I could see my foster parents out in the audience and think how disappointed they would be and how right my father would be. Because my father, he continuously doubted my abilities and was not afraid to tell me, even on our calls when I was in foster care. That's stupid. Why would you even try something like that? Was not uncharacteristic of him. So those words were playing in my head. 9th place. I'm like, here we go. 9th place, Ted Hickman. Not me. I'm like, there's something wrong. Like, what is going on here that I'm now in the top 8? And again, you can see me straight in the video. Surprised, shocked. So 7th place comes and 6th place comes and 5th place comes. And now I'm just like, these guys have me up on this stage and it's a mistake. I don't know why I'm here. 4th place, it's left to 2 of the people that I really respected and I knew were like levels above me in, software development and, from the way they talked. And then a girl who, I didn't really know. When they called 4th place, you can absolutely see on the video, I look around and I just want to crawl in a hole at this point because they're going to realize now that they have 3 members on the stage that they've accidentally called, the guy who finished last on the test. So they call one of the guys I really respected as 4th. It was shocking. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, he talked such a big game and, how could I possibly even be in these top 3? And I'm actually wanting to leave the stage. I'm going to be so embarrassed when they figure this out. So 3rd place is called, and it's the other guy that I really respected. That I thought was, really good at the material. I mean, he claimed, and they always use these big words and formulas that I didn't understand, even though I researched them. So it's down to 2 of us and they switched it up. They announced at the beginning, there's no particular order and it was true to form at that point in time. And, they're basically and normally in this situation, they would call out the winner or the runner-up. I've seen it in I've been watching it for 2 hours. So they were and the blah, blah, blah. And I don't even think I really recognized what happened, but they said her name. And my assumption inside was, she won, she won. Good job. This is where they realized you're not even supposed to be here. But then I heard as the runner-up, and in the video, my mouth drops open and I literally mouth the words, "Oh my God." Because either this is a mistake and it's going to be the worst moment of my life, or I just won the Future Business Leaders of America Computer Concepts. It's a really cute moment. When I was still innocent. And my mouth drops open and it seemed like forever until they announced that I was the winner of Computer Concepts. And I hastily walk up there, take my trophy. You can just see the shock on my face. So the reason I'm talking about this today is kind of to go over, how did I do that? How did I make the seemingly impossible possible? And why didn't that doubt creep up during trying to do it like it did when I got there? And I think there's really, and again, I'm just spitballing here, but I was thinking about this morning, and I think there's really a couple of things here. Number one, it was everything to me. I woke up every day. I had a goal in mind. I knew I wanted to take my foster mother to Washington, D.C. I was passionate about it. I studied. It didn't matter what I was doing. My nose was in a book. I learned about all of the history. I hit every category they said. I took every pretest. I took every test I could. And I just had my head down. And I told myself, I programmed myself, I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to win this thing. And I did the things. I think that I told my brain what the things were necessary to do to win it. And then I surrounded myself with this aura and this belief that I had already won it, that everything I was doing would win it. So I think that was really important. And then when they were naysayers, I didn't listen to them at all. It never came up. I mean, I didn't care if someone at school said, oh, there's other people that are better than you, whatever. I knew I was going to win. Absolutely 100%. I held that doubt back because I was positive that I was more passionate, that I would study more than anyone else. I was going to outlast them all. Of course, I didn't know about the time limit, but I'm not sure that would have swayed me either. I was just positive. I was in complete and utter passion zone of where I was going to win, and I was going to take Marty, my foster mother, to Washington, D.C. And I said it over and over and over again. And I think everyone around me was like, oh my God, when this doesn't happen, there's going to be a huge disappointment. He's attaching himself to an outcome, which I didn't even understand that concept at the time. So then lastly, I prepared. So I was passionate about it. I had tunnel vision. I didn't listen to any of the naysayers, and I was prepared. I was prepared for every aspect they could throw at me, even the aspect of the unexpected. I could have walked out of the room. I could have said, there's no way I'm ever going to win. How am I going to get the best score out of hundreds of people? There was hundreds of people in this competition. How am I going to get the best score? Or at least it seemed like hundreds of people. I know it was more than a normal sized classroom. It was a college auditorium full of people. How am I going to get the best score? And the score doesn't even matter. It was the best. And I do remember looking at the numbers, and by far it was high there. And so those four things I do constantly when I do the possible. And then, of course, the fifth one is somehow the doubt doesn't come in until after. It's never during for me. It's always after. Then I allow myself to doubt. Then I say, well, I put everything into it. Maybe it's not going to happen. I think I prepare myself for the loss. So I'm never attaching myself to an outcome except in the growth period where I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I motivate myself to do that. So that's a little bit of my process of how I do the possible. And it's the same for, graduating from WGU in 6 months and 24 days. The same way I did it. I did the exact same things. I was passionate about it. I planned it out. I planned computer concepts. It was just every single day, no matter what, right after homework, I would study every spare moment I had, but I did schedule it out just like I did for WGU. So that's what I really recommend for people who are trying to do the possible. The first thing is find something you want and that you're going to just breathe. Like it's going to be like air for you, that you want it that bad. The second thing is do that thing in every spare moment you have. Plan out time to do it. The third thing is don't listen to the naysayers. Just ignore them. It's kind of like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs never cared about what anybody said. He thought that he could do it, and he did it. Period. And if someone said it wasn't possible, well, it was possible. And then number 4 is really just be prepared for anything. And then I think the fifth actual thing is let yourself down. You can doubt after the test is over. That way you're expecting a result that is reasonable. If you don't do it, it's fine. You know, you did your best. I think that pattern has worked for me over the many, many things that I have done that I have proved are possible. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thanks, guys, for watching. This was a bit of a long one. Please like, subscribe, and share the video and ask your questions. And have a good one. Talk soon.